Hi there, here's my interpretation of Tim's December tag from the 12 tags of 2012. Here's the cute snowman that Tim made, and this is my version. So I'm going to use the same craft core that Tim used as the base of his tag, and I always use this little white tag as a master for the shape of all the tags that I make. This craft core that I've got is a little bit short, so I've got a plan to add length to the bottom of the tag. I don't have a distressing tool, so like most of us during this challenge, I'm improvising with my scissors. I'm using the reverse of the cardstock and a little 1/2 inch circle punch to make the hole at the top of my tag ready for my ribbon. As soon as I saw Tim's snowman tag, I knew that I wanted to make it snow on my snowman, so I'm going to make a shaker card. And I'm using this lighter cardstock to make the top of my tag. I used Tim's snowflake die to emboss my tags, and then I'm going to cut out an aperture in the lighter piece ready to put the acetate in and make the window for my shaker tag. I used my paper trimmer to get my rough shape of my frame, and I'm just flicking through now with my craft knife just to release the inside aperture of the frame of my shaker card. Next up, I'm having a little think about how to add that little bit of extra length to the tag that I didn't get earlier, and I think I'm going to go with the craft again. And I treated myself the other day to some of Tim's stamps from Stampers Anonymous, and I'm going to use one of the borders. I think I'm going to go with this zigzag one because it seems to fit nicely with the bottom of the tag. I don't have an acrylic block quite long enough. I'm going to use this VersaFine ink on my fingers more than on my tag at the minute. I am a really messy stamper. I can never keep my fingers clean. I don't like stamping on white card. And then I'm going to cut out the border and use it to lengthen my tag. I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this border stamp. Look at that, perfect. Thanks, Tim. The zigzags fit perfectly across the bottom of my tag. Anyone would think you designed it this way. Yeah, I think I'm liking this design decision. It looks quite sweet on the bottom there. And now I'm just going to attach some acetate that I'm going to cut to size to fit the window, ready to make this into the top part of the shaker card. So just trimming my acetate to size and getting rid of any fingerprints and bits of fluff, and then attaching it to the window. I couldn't try out Tim's technique with the distress stains, mainly because I didn't have the colours and I don't have any of the metallic distress stains yet. So I'm going to go with one of the old techniques of using distress ink, and I want to make a snowy background. So just trimming my white card to size before I start. Last year I taught a class at Christmas time making snowy backgrounds using the resist technique, and I came up with a little gem that I've used over and over again to make quite a realistic looking moon. I've decided actually that this little moon that I'm trying out here is a bit small, so I'm going with making a mask with a 1.5 inch diameter circle punch. I'm just getting it in position so that when my snowman's there, my moon is where I want it. So I'm using the circle as a mask, and then I'm going to use a bit of dry foam and some of the Perfect Medium re-inker. And you only want a little dot, and you want a mottled amount on your card, so don't be too heavy-handed. The idea is that your moon looks like it's got craters when it's finished. Again, not too heavy with the embossing powder, and then heat it up. And then when you ink over this, it will reveal quite a mottly and realistic looking moon. I quite like resist techniques that use clear embossing powder, because when you ink over it, it's like magic, revealing what you've worked hard to achieve underneath. And I think you'll agree that this moon's quite a nice effect. It does give a nice realistic looking moon. I think that's a little bit light for what I want, so I'm going to use another colour. I think I'm going to try this new one, which is peacock feathers, and I'm going to go all over the card just to darken it up. I think the broken china was a little bit light. I think that's better. And then I just want to darken the edges, and I'm going to go with pine needles just to darken around the edges of my card. Just using a bit of kitchen roll to take the excess ink from my moon, and then I'm going to take some water and flick it across the surface of my card, and I'm aiming to achieve a snowy looking background on my sky. And the water has the effect of lifting the distress ink from the surface of the card. Oh, just get rid of those stickers, I don't know what they're doing there. And I'm just using my heat gun to make the bleaching effect go a little bit quicker and to dry the water on my card. I kept flicking water until I got the snowy effect that I wanted. When I was happy with how much snow I had falling down, I'm ready to move on to the stamping. Again, I'm not the world's greatest stamper, so using black archival ink, and this stamp's not mounted, so that's what the yellow piece of foam is for. And I didn't have Tim's lovely stamp, so I'm using one from Creative Expressions, quite a cute snowman with very long legs. And the first stamp wasn't quite so good, I'm missing a bit of his jacket, so I'm going again for number 3. And have I cracked it? Yeah. So I'm happy with that. Although this ink dries quickly, I'm just giving it a quick blast to be sure before I start painting. And as you can see, I don't have Tim's lovely distress markers yet. You never know what Santa might bring if I'm a good girl. But as it happens, I really like using distress inks to colour anyway. So I'm going to just splodge them onto my mat and use some water and a brush. So the colours I'm using, because I want a nice bright snowman with bright jacket and hat, are mustard seed and dried marigold, and then a little bit more of the peacock feathers. And I used a very small touch of broken china for the shadowing on the snowman's face, and a teeny tiny bit, I think I might lose the holly, but of the pine needles just to do the holly leaves. So I'm just colouring in and trying to work out when I layer my snowman up which pieces I need. So I've gone for the scarf, the hat and the star as extra pieces that I'm going to layer up. And now I'm going to cut out all the little pieces. So the first layer is complete. All I've got to do is work out how much of my snowman will show in my aperture, and then trim him down accordingly. So I think I needed a bit more leg than I intended, so just adding a bit more colour and then cutting his legs out. And then cutting out the little fiddly bits. Who decided to do that star? Ready to layer everything up with foam pads. And here he is coming together on the card, and I've had to trim off the holly as I expected and a little bit of his legs, because as you'll see, I need to make a frame around the outside to join this card together. I had a little couple of gems for buttons, and now I'm going to attach my snowy background and snowman to my base tag. And then I'm ready to create the depth so that I can add snow to my shaker card. I'm doing that by adding very small strips, or thin strips should I say, of chipboard and building up a frame around the outside of my card. And I think I added 4 layers in total to get enough height so that the acetate cleared the front of my decoupaged image. So just adding the final piece and then checking that the height is okay and that I'm not squashing my snowman or making my acetate bow out. So I'm happy with that. Moving on to ribbon. So just cutting off a bit of ribbon and a couple of Tim's roses. I think they're the lavish trimmings that I'm using, and I'm going to colour them with the mustard seed and the dried marigold. So I forgot to spray with water in the first instance, so let's put some more ink down and try again. So once I get a nice covering of colour, then I like to go back into dry ink rather than spraying it with water, particularly with a darker colour, just so that the darker colour sits without washing out, so it gives a little bit more definition to some of your crinkles. I found that if you just go back in afterwards into a little bit of dry ink rather than spraying it with water, then we're going to dry the ribbon off so it's ready to use. And I've just thought that I might like to add a little bit of stamping onto my ribbon, so I'm going to do that with my border that I used earlier, and it looks quite nice, I think, against the... I'm having a bit of trouble with the end bit. It doesn't want to go flat. I got there in the end with my concentration fringe. It's coming together nicely now, so just looping my ribbon, I say so myself, just looping my ribbon through the top of my tag and trimming off the ends. So I'm on the home straight now, and looking through my embellishments to see what I've got that's inspired by Tim's. I haven't got all the things that he's got, so I'm going to first of all finish off the shaker part of my tag. I'm using a glass glitter which won't stick to my acetate for the shaker part of the card, and some strong tape to attach the aperture, the window to the top. I haven't got the lovely tinsel yet, so I'm using some silver rickrack, and again, same with metal snowflakes. I didn't have anything that I could use, so I'm going to go with a little bit of frosty bling that I'm cutting from this leafy sprig, and I am going to use my roses, and I'm going to use my roses in the centre. So they're not quite a snowflake, but I think they will still look quite nice at the bottom and the top corner of my tag. And there's one in position, and then I'm going on to number 2. I think my glue gun is sticking. I always have trouble with when you put the second refill in until it gets going. Sorry if it looks a bit awkward. And there's that final rose. And then I started out with green letters that I'd coloured with alcohol ink, but I didn't like them. I thought they didn't stand out enough. So that's why in a minute they'll suddenly turn black. There we go. I had great fun making my tag based on Tim's gorgeous December tag, complete with little bell on jewelled paper clip and snow shaker. I hope you like it as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you for watching. Almost forgot, as I promised on my blog, here's a shot of the chaos that's left behind after I make one of these videos. Anyone want to help me tidy up?